To part 8 of my trailer rental, UXO here. So I couldn't find bamboo long enough. I needed about 77 inches, which is just over 6 feet, 6 feet something. So I ended up buying these pine boards. They're 12 by 3/4 by 8 feet each. So I got 4 of them. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to biscuit joint them together down the center, 2 of them, and then laminate them on top of each other to give me a thickness of about, say, 1.5 inches. So my first step is I'm going to cut them to the proper length, which is 77 inches. And then I'm going to biscuit joint them together. Biscuits, I'm going to use a number 10 biscuit. And biscuit joint, glue and biscuit joint them together. So what's it going to look like, I hope, is something like this. So this is the door, you come in. This is the new cabinet I'm going to build. It's going to be roughly 20 by 20 by 29 inches high. The new counter is going to be 77 inches long total, 22 at one end, and 24 when you first come in so the cabinet can sit underneath of it. And I'm going to make a little in-cut in here for where the seats will go. This is the existing cabinet, and then the bed's back here. This is that wheel well thing that I got to cover still. So my first step today is, like I said, going to cut those down to 77 inches, biscuit joint each pair together, and then laminate them one on top of the other. So that's going to take a better part of a day for all the glue to cure before I can start making the cuts and sanding it down. I'll leave it there for now. Okay, welcome back. So I cut them at 77 inches each. And what I've done here is I just test fitted them together, and I wanted to make sure that the edges between the boards line up nice and tight so that you don't see a gap once I biscuit joint them and glue them together. So you can see I got a nice tight line along here. I mean, I could tighten it up more, but I'm not going to right now. So that's all I was checking for. So my next step is I'm going to put the biscuits in and glue it together, and then laminate the 2 of them together. I'll be back. So when you're doing biscuit joints, the thing you have to remember is that on each of your wood, the line has to be in the exact same location, or your boards are not going to line up. It's not too bad with this because at the end, I'm probably going to use my table saw or my skill saw and cut these, just trim the edges off. But so when you mark your lines for where your biscuits are going to go, line up your boards, use the straight edge or T-square, and mark both boards at the same time. And then your biscuit jointer will sit on there and then push to make the groove in for the biscuit. This way you won't have any problems of trying to get the 2 boards to line up together. Okay, so of course before you do anything, I want to do a test cut. So what I did, I got the scrap pieces of wood, of the pine, and I'm going to show you the 2 ways you can use the biscuit joiner that are the easiest way I find. The first way is you can use a piece on the bottom to support your biscuit joiner and then push into your top piece. And then the second way is just to freehand it off, clamping your board to the table and just pushing it in. So I prefer this method because if you have your biscuit jointer set up in the center of your wood, you can see how it fits perfectly. So when I push the teeth out, it's sort of center of that edge of the wood here, so that you get the biscuit in the middle of the wood to get the most meat to grab both pieces together. So this is the preferred way I like to do it because it gives you more. I mean, it's not a heavy machine, but it's just nice and this makes everything square. So if you're freehanding it like this, like some people do, you can have a tendency to rock the machine back and forth, so not get a square 90-degree cut in there. Where this way eliminates that almost altogether. So I'm going to do this test cut, and we'll see how it looks. Okay, so I did the 2 test cuts. The top one I did with it sitting on here, and then the bottom one I just did free push in. So the biscuit, number 10 biscuit. Oh, by the way, on your biscuit joiner, there's a lever here that shows you the size of the biscuits. So you got number 10, 0, manual. This goes full depth of the machine. Number 20. So these, and they say right on them, these are number 10 biscuits. So let's see how it looks here. See if I can do this while holding the camera. So I also mark, I know it's a little redundant because I got a line, but I also mark the T's to say that they're at the top. Because if you have multiple pieces, you can easily get them mixed up, one upside down, and then the biscuits won't line up. So there's a little bit of play. So you got a little bit of lateral movement, as you can see with the biscuits. So you just tap it. I didn't line these pieces up to begin with. I just wanted to see. So there you go. So now what I'll do is I'll glue the biscuits all onto one side of the board of my long counter. I'll do all the one side. I'll glue all the biscuits in. Of course, I'll cut them all, do a test fit of the two boards together. So everything's good. I'll glue the biscuits in all in one side of one of the boards, all the way down to 6 biscuits. And then on the other side, I'll fill the void with some glue and along the whole edge of this opposite panel, and then put them together and clamp them. Okay, so I got this is the bottom part of the pan. This is the bottom part of the counter. That's over there is going to be the top part. This is, so what you want to try to do is when you're clamping is to alternate. One on the bottom, one on top, one on the bottom, one on top if you can. It stops the wood from bowing from one side to the other. If you put your clamps all on one side, your board will definitely bow. It will cause the crown to be into your board. This way, when you alternate them, it prevents crowning. So big thing you got to try to do is you got to try to get your boards to lay flat on your clamp bars so that you don't start off with a crown. So, and then you got glue coming out, which means you got a pretty tight seal, and it's nice and flat. So I mean, a little bit of sanding will take that glue residue off. And then what I'm going to do now is I'll just go down and alternating and tighten, all the bottom ones, and I'll tighten across all the top ones, just like a half turn at a time till it's nice and snug, and there's glue coming out of that full crack or the full joint. And that will be it. I gotta let it set for, I think it's set time for the glue is a couple of hours. I'll have to read it, but make sure you use, if you're doing anything for your trailer, you use interior exterior glue, not just interior glue, because you got the cold to deal with, because wood tends to shrink and expand in the cold and heat. So of course I'm going to tung oil all this as well, seal it up completely so that the moisture content doesn't drop and rise throughout the changing seasons. Okay. I laminated the two boards together. I just have the ends clamped to make sure there's no gaps in it. Underneath it's all screwed every 6 inches and glued, so it's going to sit there like that probably for a little bit. I have the shell of the cabinet built, so it's not too complicated. I built the two end pieces, then attached them with the two center pieces, and that's basically the shell of the cabinet I'm going to build. I made sure it was big enough. There's going to be a front panel down here so that you can easily get at the furnace and remove it if you have to, and also that this is going to be a panel right in here. It's going to be a removable panel, so that if you have to as well, you can get at the top of the furnace. But I'm going to attach it such a way that it's going to be easy. The easiest thing to do will be to remove this whole cabinet and slide it right out. So I'm basically only going to attach it down to the floor, a couple of screws in the floor and along the wall beams, and then down there. And then so basically from the opening on this side's going to be open. You're going to be able to remove the screws and pull this whole cabinet away from the wall. So what I'm going to do is on top, I'm putting a 1/2 inch piece of plywood to square it all off. And then on top of that, the 1.5 inches of the countertop is going to be, so it's going to roughly make the counter about 30.5 inches high, which is a comfortable eating height. It's going to span this whole area in here. I still have to do that, the flooring on that, but that's not a big job. I'm going to do that before I put the countertop in, of course. So my next step is to rip the plywood for the top, and then start cutting the panels to size to, I'm going to have it all closed off in the front here, like I said, with an access panel down here. This whole side is going to be closed off, except there's going to be an air inlet vent, like the one I have in the bathroom, which is, I like that white one right there. So it's going to allow the fresh air to enter into the fan area. Yeah, sorry about my cold. I'll be back. Okay, so I'm doing a test fit. I got the countertop just in place. It's not fastened down, just to see how it looks and how much space it takes up. My cabinet, you can see how it fits. Got a bottom shelf to go in there, and then I'm going to do the paneling of the back and the side walls. This is going to be closed off. I got an air grate for the front. I decided to put an air grate on the front, as well as an inlet grate in there. So that's the main fan to suck in the air for the furnace. So it's going to have lots of air be able to flow through there. Quite happy how it looks. I was going to do the curved countertop where I was going to sort of zigzag it in here like this and go down, but I decided not to. But I am going to do the round off the corner here, and then do a blunt bullnose finish with a router. So I was just wanted to update you. I think it looks pretty good. There's the chairs. We got a second one that's not here. That's what it looks like. It's a good height. It's about 30 and a half inches high. Standard height is about 29 and a half inches, so it's a little bit higher than the standard height table, but nothing uncomfortable. So this is the final piece. Once I'm done this, the trailer is going to be done, and we're going to give it a test run next weekend. After next, we're going to take it out and see if everything works. I tried to ensure that I didn't add any more weight to the trailer by doing the renos, because you don't want to unbalance the trailer. So this unit, I'm sure, weighs as much as the dinette, probably a little bit less. So I don't think I put any extra weight on the trailer, even with the counter, the heavier counter. So I think with a little bit less weight of this unit and a little bit more weight of that, I think I haven't increased the gross vehicle weight at all. So that's going to be the end of part 8. My next step is I'm going to, like I said, do the countertop, finish the cabinet, and then give you the overall of the completed trailer. Like and share. Thank you.